Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday Big Finish, happy birthday to you. Hi, I'm Phil, welcome to my channel. It's birthdays on multiple fronts this week because it is, of course, Big Finish's 20th anniversary of having Doctor Who. The Doctor Who license, 1999, July, that's when it's all started. I mean, technically, it's not Big Finish's birthday, because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, they were releasing Bernie Summerfield audios in 1998, but 1999 is when they got the proper Doctor Who license. It's also recently been my birthday. That was last week. I'm not going to tell you how old I am, because I don't want to make myself feel even older than I already do. And to add a third kind of birthday in the mix, it's not quite a birthday, but if all goes to plan, this should be the 100th video, no, sorry, let me correct myself, the 100th Doctor Who based video on my channel. The 100th, it's definitely the 100th in the Doctor Who playlist, so unless I've accidentally missed something on the Doctor Who playlist that I posted and didn't put it in the playlist, then it's my 100th Doctor Who video on this channel. So a whole range of anniversary type, birthday type things happening this week. So 20 years of Big Finish, I wanted to mark it in some way. What I thought I would do is go through each year of Big Finish's existence and pick out one of my favourite of their releases from that year. Now, disclaimer, some years I haven't listened to very many of their releases from those years, and as a consequence, the selection I'm picking from is limited. These are my favourites of the ones I have listened to. They are by no means the best from that year, because I have not listened to everything from every year of Big Finish's existence. In fact, I barely scratched the surface. So, this is very much a best of what my favourite of what I've listened to from each year. Thankfully, I've realised I have at least listened to at least one thing from each year. So I at least have something I can put in each year. But that's how I'm going to work this, okay? So without further ado, let's get into the list. First of all, let's party like it's 1999. And I've only listened to one of the releases from this year, so that wins kind of by default. The Sirens of Time, the very first Doctor Who drama, fittingly in this, to fit in this anniversary. It's, what can I say about it? I love a multi-Doctor story. I wouldn't ever suggest starting with this to start your Big Finish journey, because it was the very first one of the Doctor Who's. They've grown a lot since, and there's a lot missing that you might expect from more recent things in terms of the production values. There's not much in the way of production to it. It's more about the acting, and the acting is very good, and the story is good, but I think it's a little bit possibly inaccessible, but it's the only one I've listened to from this year, so it wins by default. Then from the year 2000, I'm going for the Marianne Conspiracy. I've only fairly recently listened to this one, actually, because it's taken me this long to get into the sixth Doctor's audios. I have only really sampled, less than 10 of them in total. And it started because I was following the 8th Doctor, and my main Big Finish collecting is, if you can see the shelves behind me, it's mainly 8th Doctor stuff. And I'd been following the 8th Doctor and Charlie, and then of course I found out that when Charlie left the 8th Doctor, she went to the 6th Doctor. So I started I got her Charlie and 6th Doctor run. And that's how I discovered how much better the 6th Doctor is on audio than he was on TV. And thought, I need to get some more of these. So when some sales came up and there was some of the 8th Doctor and Evelyn stuff, I jumped to that and bought a few of those. And this one is the one that introduces Evelyn Smythe. And she is a fantastic companion from what I've heard of her so far. I've heard lots of great things from fans, and from what I've heard in I think it's 3 or 4 of her audios that I've heard so far, she's fantastic, and I definitely want to hear more, and as soon as some more come up in a sale, I will be buying them. This one is a really good introduction. It's also a pure historical, which I quite like to see every so often, and it does that really well. So the Marianne Conspiracy gets my place as my favourite from the year 2000. My favourite Big Finish release from 2001 is Storm Warning, because it's the start of 8th Doctor and Charlie. 8th Doctor is really where my big passion for Big Finish lies. It's the bulk of my collection. I can't afford to follow every Doctor. I can't afford to get the monthly range every month, but what I can do is gradually try and pick up the 8th Doctor stuff. I've been picking it up in sales. I'm almost up to date. I almost have everything that's been released for 8th Doctor. The only thing I don't have now is the 4th Doctor, the 4th series of him and Lucy Miller. I picked up series 2 and 3 in the recent sale, so that got me a lot closer. But the 8th Doctor, and this is where the 8th Doctor started in Storm Warning on Big Finish, the very first 8th Doctor audio on Big Finish, so it holds a good place in my heart there. Some other people might have picked maybe some other ones from this. I know, was Chimes of Midnight 2000 or was it 2001 or was it 2002? I'm not sure, but I know a lot of people would have picked Chimes of Midnight for one of those 2 years. Personally, for me, while I think it's a good story, and I do need to revisit it because it's been a few years, I really liked the way everything was introduced in Storm Warning. So for me, just its kind of importance puts it in that first place for this year. Okay, I just checked. 2002 was Chimes of Midnight, but it's not going to be my pick for that year either. It was a tough pick for this year. There were several good contenders. Like I say, Chimes of Midnight is in there. It's a good one, but for me, it's not as highly rated as some people put it. It's not to say it's bad. It's a very enjoyable drama. But there were 2 that were vying for the top spot for me for this year. One was Invaders from Mars, because I used to work in radio drama, and so the topic of this one, the whole Orson Welles radio broadcast that apparently tricked everyone into thinking Martians were really landing on Earth. The subject matter is very interesting to me. And I think it was really well done, and it played with the medium of audio really well. But, and it can't be helped, Spare Parts came out this year as well, and that is one of the best Cyberman stories we've had across any medium, I think. So, it's possibly the best Cyberman. About to say Spider-Man. What am I talking about? Cyberman story that we've had in any medium. So, I mean, just the kind of visual imagery that it portrays, the world it portrays of Mondas, and the acting from the 5th Doctor. I also wanted this list to not just be 8th Doctor releases, so I wanted to throw in a few others as well, but Spare Parts definitely earns its place here. For 2003, I haven't listened to many of ones from this year, I discovered. 2 of the ones that stood out to me were Jubilee, which is of course the episode that Dalek from Series 1 of the Revival is loosely based off. It is very loosely, because the only real similarity is that there's a captured Dalek, and then there's one scene between the Dalek and the Doctor that is quite similar, and the rest of the story is very different. But it is still really good, so definitely worth checking out. If you like that episode, you'll like some of them. Maybe some of the themes are the same, so maybe you like some of the themes that are explored if you liked that episode. But obviously it's told over 4 parts, it's a bigger story, there's a lot more going on, and it's a completely different setting as well. So it's really good, but it didn't win the top spot for me. What won the top spot for me was actually Davros. This was part of a trilogy that was examining some of the villains of the Doctor, some of the reoccurring villains. You had a Master one, you had an Omega one, and you had a Davros one. And the Davros one was definitely the best out of the bunch. The others were good too, but just the exploration of his character here was phenomenal, and the acting was superb, and I think the writing was top notch as well. So Davros wins this year. What year are we on? Forgotten already. 2003. 2004, I'm going to slip in a Gallifrey audio, the first Gallifrey audio, Weapon of Choice. I wanted to get the Gallifrey series in here somewhere if there was a year that I could put it in without anything massively standing out above it. I really like the Gallifrey series. I followed it. I'm behind. I'm not up to date on it. I'm up to series 5 on it. It's really intriguing. It's kind of like the West. I know everybody refers to it as Gallifreyan West Wing. It's kind of West Wing meets Game of Thrones meets Doctor Who. All this political intrigue, backstabbing. It's really good stuff. It does actually, even though this one is winning this year, it's not the best Gallifrey audio. I think Gallifrey, from what I've listened to so far, really peaks in series 2 and 3. But there was too much other stuff coming out those years for them to win that year. So I'm giving it this position in 2004. For 2005, I'm picking Terra Firma. 8th Doctor, Davros, Daleks. It's just a really exciting Dalek story, basically. That's why it's winning this year. Can't remember. Obviously, I've listened to the rest of the 8th Doctor stuff that came out this year. I think it was the best of that bunch. I wasn't a massive fan of the Divergent arc, which had come just before this, I think. So none of that was going to win. So Terra Firma, 2005. For 2006, it's another Davros one, Davros. This was a series. I'm not going to pick one from the series. I'm just going to say the whole series because it's too difficult. I said Davros was a great exploration of his character. Well, Davros ups it massively. This is an epic tale, an epic backstory of one of the Doctor's most evil villains that he has come across, and gives you sort of some insight into how he became the way he is, how he became so bitter and twisted. And yeah, just fantastic acting by all of the actors that portrayed Davros, because you got him from a sort of teenager right through to the Davros we know towards the end. See all those life events that fed into, you could sort of see how the Daleks came about in his mind over time. It's just a really good series. If you haven't listened to it, go check it out. In 2007, we got the launch of the 8th Doctor Adventures. The Doctor broke away from the main monthly range into his own series and got a new companion in the form of Lucy Miller. And I'm picking Blood of the Daleks because I think that's the best from series 1. The introduction, we get a new companion who is brilliant. Sheridan Smith as Lucy Miller. Great stuff. I've, as you can see up here, I think you can see. Can you see there? I've got the new Adventures of Lucy Miller recently, and it's great to have her back. This is where she started, and I would say that this is one of my favourite eras of the 8th Doctor. Although it has been, challenged recently. The Time War stuff is fantastic. Him and Liv Chenka and Helen are all brilliant in the latest runs of Doom Coalition, especially. All fantastic. So it has been challenged recently, but I do still hold a very special place in my heart for this series, and that is why the first one has to win for 2007. For 2008, I found it really difficult. I'd listened to quite a lot from 2008, it turned out, from various different ranges, and I could have picked something from the 8th Doctor. If I was going to pick something from the 8th Doctor Adventures, it would have probably been Grand Theft Cosmos. That was probably, I think, my favourite from the series that was coming out in 2008. There was also, and I kind of wanted to put this in somewhere, the Dalek Empire series, because that was wrapping up this year, and I hadn't found a place for it, but up until this point, and I'm afraid I didn't find a place for it here, because although it was really good, I think Series 4 was probably not the weakest, actually. Maybe that was Series 3. But Series 4 was, I think, if I could have fit Series 1 or 2 in there, it definitely would have been in there. But what I've actually put here is one that came free with Doctor Who magazine that year, Cuddlesome. I just really liked the funness of this. A lot of the stuff I pick is quite dark or serious or somber in some way. This is just really fun. It's killer sentient teddy bears, and it's got the 5th Doctor in it, who is a joy, and I really like this. And this is another one I only came across fairly recently. I only listened to it, I think, at the beginning of this year for the first time, and so when compiling this list, I found out it came from 2008, and that's where it's won. It's won 2008 for me, out of the ones I've listened to anyway. For 2009, I've gone for An Earthly Child. We get the return of Susan, meeting the 8th Doctor, get to meet the Doctor's great-grandchild. I love finding out more stuff about the Doctor's life, the Doctor's backstory, the Doctor's family, any like little tidbits of that. I kind of love finding those out. Not all at once, I want to find it out slowly. I don't want the complete mystery revealed all at once, but I like little bits here and there, and I love finding out what happened to companions after they left travelling with the Doctor. So to find out what happened to Susan, to find out she's had a child, the Doctor's got a great-grandchild, seeing that relationship develop, that was all great in this one. So this wins for 2009. 2010 turns out to be another year that I've only actually heard one of Big Finish's releases from, and that is the companion chronicle Solitaire. This is an 8th Doctor and Charlie story, essentially. Obviously told from Charlie's perspective, the Doctor has been turned into a puppet. It's got the thingy from the Celestial Toymaker in it as well. This was my first encounter with a companion chronicle as well. I'd been skeptical of the format before this because, you know, I kind of prefer full-cast audio dramas to audio books, and the companion chronicles are kind of this halfway between the two, where you have more than one actor, but it's not full cast. You usually have 2 actors, the main one that does the narration-y bits as well, and one other, in this case the guy playing the Celestial Toymaker. And I was skeptical before I'd heard this, but after hearing this one, I came around and was willing to give them a try a bit more. I still haven't listened to many of them, admittedly, but definitely I am more willing to check them out than I was after listening to this. And I got this because I'm a 8th Doctor completist, and I had to listen to all of the 8th Doctor stories at some point. In 2011, as a fan of the 8th Doctor Adventures, how could I not pick the finale to that series? How could I not pick To the Death? I'm putting these two together because they're a two-parter, basically. To the Death / Lucy Miller. It's effectively a two-parter, so even though they came on 2 separate releases, I'm counting them as one here. This is the end of Lucy Miller. It's sad, and it's an end to that series, and what a great series it was, and what a great character Lucy Miller was. But hey, at least we've got some more adventures with her now. Following on from his adventures with Lucy Miller, of course, he picked up a whole lot of new companions in his box sets going forward, in the new format, these box sets. And the first one of those was Dark Eyes 1. It won awards. It won a BBC Audio Drama Award at one point. And it was a fantastic series and a bold new direction for the 8th Doctor at the time. And out of all the Dark Eyes, I'd say the first one is really strong. I think because they hadn't got the whole plot of Dark Eyes, they just envisioned it as one box set to start with. The other ones don't feel as consistent with their plot line running through the whole series, but number 1 is very strong indeed. For 2013, I'm going to slip in a 12th Doctor adventure, The Final Phase, a Dalek one. Really enjoyed it. It was, what can I say, it was an interesting Dalek story. I hadn't heard that much from 2012, and like I say, I didn't massively rate the rest of the Dark Eyes series, although don't get me wrong, it was good, but I think these ones, in terms of the best release and the releases I enjoyed the most from this year, definitely trump it. So it was interesting because I had never heard any 12th Doctor audios before I listened to this one either, so that was very good too. 2014, I'm going to pick the Worlds of Doctor Who because I like the fact, I just like the idea of bringing all of these disparate elements of the Whoniverse together in one release. That was quite exciting. It was a way to sample, bits of the Whoniverse you may not have, especially the Big Finish version of the Whoniverse that you hadn't encountered before. So it was a good idea to release this, and that's why I think this is good for this year, because it just gave an opportunity to sample various different things in a way much like Legacy of Time is doing with the current release that I've just started listening to today, because I'm recording this on the day that Legacy of Time is released. So similar kind of concept, I guess, where you get to sample bits and characters from across the whole range of Doctor Who spin-offs. For 2015, I'm going for Only the Monstrous, the first War Doctor box set. I can't tell you how pleased I was when Big Finish started exploring the Time War. It's got such potential and they are now a few years into exploring it. I don't know how long they're going to be able to go on doing it for before they run out of stuff to do and feel like they've fully exploited that era. But for now, it's going strong. I've been listening to the War Doctor, obviously the 8th Doctor Time War stuff. I haven't got there yet, but I'm really looking forward to the Gallifrey Time War stuff. So this was, I think, the first release that we had that was set in the Time War itself. So that's why it's on this list, and it is such good, and it's brilliant hearing more of John Hurt as the War Doctor, because, you know, he was taken from us too soon, and it's great that they managed to record 4 box sets worth with him before he sadly passed away. My favourite Big Finish release for 2016 is Doom Coalition 3. Doom Coalition is my favourite of the new era Doctor Who stories. Yeah, Dark Eyes, Doom Coalition, we're in the middle of Ravenous at the moment. So far, Doom Coalition has been my favourite of all of those story arcs. It felt so consistent throughout all of the box sets, and yet there was individual stories in there that you could listen to individually, but just the way it sort of built and graduated. And of course we got the introduction of the 11, who is one of my favourite villains, especially my favourite one that Big Finish has created. He is fantastic. I would love to see him on the actual TV screen as well. That is one Big Finish character that really needs to translate to the TV screen, and still played by Mark Bonmar, because he does it so well. 2017, 8th Doctor Time War 1. Time War again, 8th Doctor. It's so good finding out what happened leading up to that time when we saw in Night of the Doctor where he crashes his ship and decides that he needs to be a new man, he needs to be a warrior. Seeing those, you know, he referenced that he's been skirting along the edges of the war, you know, helping out where he can, trying to help individuals and planets and stuff, and we get to see some of that now, or hear some of that now, and it's really exciting. Like I said before, I love the fact that we're exploring the Time War now, and I'm really glad we're getting to hear some 8th Doctor stuff as well. And that is why it also wins 2018 with the Time War, 8th Doctor Time War Volume 2. Yeah, it's unoriginal, but it was my favourite release of that year. Can't help how I feel. So for 2019, my choices were between the First Doctor Adventures Volume 3, I think it was, or 12th Doctor, not 12, 4th Doctor Adventures, even, Series 8, Part 1. And that's the one that won it for me. And this is very, personal. It's my favourite this year so far, simply because I happen to know Jane, and who plays the new companion in that. So it was just really exciting for me personally, having a release where I knew the companion, I knew the person that playing the companion, I know them personally, and that was just really exciting. It's not a reason why it's the best for everyone. I'm not saying this is absolutely the best release. I'm not judging it on any, objective way. It's my favourite. This is a list of my favourites simply because I happen to know someone in it, and that is the only reason why. But, sorry Jane, Legacy of Time might trump you if it's really, really, really good. And so far, episode 1, it is really good. But for now, until I finish that, the 4th Doctor Adventures just about takes the top spot for this year. Still got 5 months of the year, maybe something will even trump Legacy of Time, who knows. Got more 8th Doctor on the way. And so that is my list of my favourite releases from each year that I have listened to and that I have enjoyed, what I've enjoyed the most that year. It was hard remembering back to some of them, because some of them it was quite a few years ago I last listened to them. And some of them, like I said, I've only listened to one release from some of the years, so they win by default. But I thought that would be a fun thing to do. Look, why don't you put your favourite release from, if not all of the years, some of the years in below. What year what's your favourite year of Doctor Who releases so far? That could be another question. Let me know in the comments below. I'll be here for more Doctor Who content soon, so don't forget to like, share, subscribe and all that jazz. I try and do a Doctor Who video at least once every other week, with other pop culture videos in between. The MCU, I cover that a lot, Star Trek, other geeky things I like, novels and books and things. So I do that in between the Doctor Who stuff, but I try and get one Doctor Who video out a fortnight. So thank you for watching, and I will hopefully see you soon. Goodbye. Oh, and happy birthday, Big Finish.